Well, hello everybody and welcome. I'll get a little closer to the screen so it doesn't look like I'm talking from parts unknown. Thank you all for being here today. In fact, I don't even know what speaker we're using here. We're using this one. Okay. All right. So we are at the Greater San Diego Association of Realtors. And I want to thank you all for being here. Hey, Linda, hello again. Thank you. And thank you for subscribing. Again, so my name is Kevin Burke, and there is my telephone number. I am happy to help you in any way that I can. Please feel free to give me a call. I do have an email address as well if it's something that I can help remotely or whatever. Linda, I should probably ask, hopefully you got the material I sent you okay yesterday. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today as well. This is our subject matter is going to be on creating templates. So it's a fun class for me. I enjoy it, and I'm probably going to tell you some things that other people haven't told you yet. So that's kind of the good news of things. So I do have some credentials that I guess make me qualified to discuss the subject matter. Now, one of them is to close the window, otherwise the very large air conditioning units will come on and interrupt our talk. Been in real estate a little over 40 years, 45 years next coming up here in a couple months. Yes, I do qualify to not have to do continuing education anymore. So that's kind of neat. I have a broker's license. I have a broker's license here in California. I have a broker's license in Virginia. I do practice in both. I always believed in having a broker's license everywhere that you had family. That way you could write off all of the trips. And I'm not adverse to telling them, thank you, Linda. So I'm not adverse to telling them that they're just a tax write-off to me. So they get a kick out of that. So anyway, risk is my game. And so on the right-hand side, you see lots of issues regarding risk. Next year, I'm going to be the chair of legal affairs for the state of California, as well as the chair of the expert witness forum. So that'll add to these crazy credentials and give you even more stuff to read. Somewhere along the way, people thought I knew actually what I was talking about. So it's good. Hi, Christy. Okay, so that being said, we'll go ahead a little bit further. We're going to be talking about stuff today that's going to appear to be legal. I am not a practicing attorney. I'm very proud to say that. I think attorneys work way harder than we do, and I don't think they make nearly as much money as we do. So anyway, I'm not interested in practicing. Never has been my game. I do a lot of trial work. I'm in the middle of a couple of really big ones right now, testifying as an expert witness. And so standard of care is my specialty, and did the agents do what they were supposed to do? Did the sellers do what they were supposed to do? Did everybody do what they were supposed to do in a transaction? And then we'll have agents' duties of inspection and disclosure, and then finally market conditions in San Diego County. So conversation today is not intended to be a substitute for the advice of your broker. If you are the broker, then you should be talking to yourself, right? Nor for that of your attorney. Please consult with them as appropriate, okay? And we have a bunch of brokers on the talk today, so thank you all for being here. And I probably should tell you as well that my classes are being cut down significantly to make way for a different teaching style at SDAR. So you're going to see I am deep into researching podcasts. In fact, I am doing a podcast at the request of the Department of Real Estate. That will happen on Sunday. If you're anywhere near, if you want the link to that, send me an email and I will send you the link to the podcast. I'm going to be talking about how to pick a real estate agent. And then on the 15th, I will also be doing a class on documentation, which, as you know, is kind of my specialty. So documenting your files, doing things like that. So it's getting to be the way of the world. And so I'm excited. Some of these are 2 hours long, and like today's, it's not enough time. Other days, probably an hour would have done it. But the way that the schedule is currently set up with SDAR, these classes are scheduled for 2 hours. It just made it easier for terms of calendaring. So webinars are intended to be interactive. It's always the most fun part for me. Please utilize the Q&A button to ask questions or offer input. And Linda, you've already got that down. Thank you for that. I do look forward to hearing from you. It helps me to know that you're paying attention and that I'm actually providing some benefit. So today we're going to talk about how to create a template. That's our task for this morning. And then this afternoon, I'm going to talk about the top 10 risk avoidance techniques. And then on, let's see, this is Thursday. Yes, we will be doing, is that right? Oh yeah, no, today is Thursday. Yeah. Got it right. Okay, good. No classes on Tuesday. That's part of the classes being eliminated. And then on Thursday, again, I'll be doing open house success. And then in the morning or in the afternoon, rather, I am doing a talk for a brokerage. So if you or any of the brokers that you work with or for are interested, I am more than happy to do conversations with them. SDAR likes the outreach part of that. So happy to do that. Okay. So do let me know. So member benefits. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create award-winning DRE compliant templates in ZipForms. And so this is a real hands-on class. So I'm very excited about this. What is a DRE compliant template? And so that template is one which clearly displays your affiliation with your brokerage. And some of you, I work with on a regular basis here, and I've gone in and fixed your templates for you. Hi, Cheryl. Fixed your templates for you so that they are compliant and you don't have to worry about them anymore. But it clearly displays your affiliation with your brokerage. Okay, and so that includes also your DRE numbers, your information, things like that. So hopefully you're doing that. And if you have questions about that, again, please interrupt me. I'm going to show you how to do it in just a minute, but it's not only an NAR requirement, but it's also a DRE requirement. So NAR says, Code of Ethics says that you will display your affiliation with a brokerage firm, and DRE requires that you do that, but also your DRE number on all first marketing or first contact materials, and they consider ZipForms and your MLS as first contact. And so if you've watched my MLS classes, I've always taken to that part of the screen where you can put your DRE number in all of your email signature lines, and that's going to be an important thing. Okay, so there you go, DRE numbers, both you and your brokerage. And again, on that issue, and the DRE waffles back and forth on whether you need them for both. I mean, do you need them on your signs for both? One day it's this, another day it's that. I just always felt to do both was probably a pretty good idea. And I do help people stay in compliance with the Department of Real Estate. So I'd rather, if they're going to change it at some point, I'm always going to be good because I always do both. So, okay, that being said, so we also know this as I really want to be sure that I have a consistently good file. Okay. And so, we talk about fair housing, we talk about treating everybody the same, treating people equally, treating people fairly. If you've created a template, you are more likely to do that than otherwise. So, always be sure that you are using the current versions of the forms. That's one of the most critical things. And I'm going to talk to you now about how to make sure that you are doing that. And so if not, you're putting your clients at risk, you're putting your broker at risk, you're clearly putting yourself at risk. And you also won't have the benefits of CAR's user protection agreement. So if you're using an outdated form, then you lose that additional layer of protection that CAR gives you. So, and honestly, that level of protection means that they will write an amicus brief for you, which is amicus is a friend of the court brief for you at the appellate level. If you are challenged on the pre-printed language, which strangely enough, they're pretty successful. I remember reading, or I remember being with Neil Kalin, one of our staff attorneys. I was with him last week in Anaheim, and he made the comment that Gov Hutchinson did an amicus brief back when he first started working at CAR, which was almost 35 years ago, and they were successful in court. And of course, he likes to think that was because of the brief that he wrote, and Neil does the same thing. We've got some really good attorneys up there. They're a lot of fun to work with. So look at the headers and the footers. I'm going to show you the headers and the footers in a second, and we're going to make a big thing out of that. So let's talk about what happens when CAR issues new and revised forms. So that we issue new forms in January 1, and then again on July 1. And that is an anticipation of the laws that change. So our laws change typically January 1 and July 1. And so we'll update you. So like we just did an update June the 27th of this year, in anticipation, several days later for the new laws. And so that you would be using the current forms at that time. And then the same thing happens in December. And so in December, roughly around December, I think it's going to be the 23rd this year. We're going to issue another set of forms. I've already got them. If you want them, send me an email. I'll send you a copy of what they look like. You really should not use them now because they're not final versions. They're clearly not the standard of care yet, standard of practice yet. So what happens when they issue new and revised forms? So the important thing to remember on this is when they issue the new and the revised forms, right, the library will be updated. So let's take a look just really fast. I want to show you what the library looks like. And so I'm going to go up here, try to get myself out of the way. I'm going to go, so these are my templates. Okay, so let's pull up, let's see, this is the, I don't actually have a template for this. So here's my buyer offer template. I'm going to pull up my buyer offer template. Over here on the right-hand side where it says all forms, that's the library. Okay, and so as you can tell when you're looking at it, it's got all of the forms in it, and they are all the most current version. So on June the 27th, these all became the way it is. Okay, now if you wonder what forms were updated, you can click on this little button right here where it says all, and you go down and you see form update for 623, and that's going to show you all the forms that were updated on June the 23rd. Some of them are, like modification of listings. There's like 7 or 6 versions of that, things like that. So I don't think it's as onerous as people think it is, but the key to remember is this is your library. See up here, forms library. So that is the actual library. Okay. All right. So that being said, let's take us back. And again, please stop me if I'm moving along too quickly. I do get very excited about this, and thank you, Christy. We talked about my passion for helping other agents. We talked about that yesterday, and so the library will be updated. The existing forms will be updated, obviously. New forms will be added, right? Which is good. All the new forms are in there. Your templates will be updated. And so I'm going to take a look. Let's go back to my templates really quick. So here's my template. This is my buyer offer template. Okay, so now I create templates because that way, when I write my offers, what I said earlier about being systematized. Remember, DRE really likes people having systems. If you have a system in place and then something goes wrong, then they're going to probably first look at the system unless you didn't have a good system going on. But a lot of times when things happen, like for example, I'm in this program every day for hours every day, and on fairly frequently stuff doesn't work. And so I'm just going to tell you that up front because sometimes it doesn't work. And as I always say, if don't blame yourself, it's probably the program. Okay, that's not an excuse. That just means that don't be too hard on yourself about the fact that the program might not be working. Okay, all right, Shonda, welcome back. Okay, so this is my template. Let me go back to my list. So I have a template for everything. Okay, I have a template for the classes that I do. So the top 6 disclosures I did Tuesday. I have a buyer offer template. I have a seller listing template. I have when Linda hires people, I have a new agent template. I've got a lease template. I've got property management templates. I've got all kinds of this stuff. And then again, some of you on this call, that I apply those templates into your program so that you are using the current forms. Okay, so a template for everything. Again, we do the same thing again and again and again. We have to realize that's a rote task. And so rather than having to create a transaction from scratch every single time, which I hope nobody's doing that, let's use something that works. And so the templates, and as I said earlier, I will make my templates available to you just because you're here today. I will be happy to send you my templates. You can take a look at them. I'm going to show you in a second how to actually upload them and how to make them yours. Okay, that's all. Again, check with your broker. Make sure that that you are doing what your broker wants you to do, because what I'd like you to do may be a little different than what your broker wants you to do, but I'm okay with that. All right. So these are my templates. So now I mentioned earlier, so in the forms library, they will update that. Now here's the good news. They will also update my templates. When you create a template, they will update your template. So on June the 27th, all of my templates were updated. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? That way I know in my template I have the current form. Okay, now what they will do is they will update the forms in the template. So I'm going to go back to my buyer offer template really quick. Let's go down to the offer. I look down here, I see the California residential purchase agreement was updated in 12 of 22, so no update since then. Look at my local area disclosures, January of 23. Look at my statewide buyer and seller advisory. We updated that in June of 23, June the 27th at 1:30 in the afternoon. I was hitting the refresh button. I was so excited about that. Okay, so again, the library will be updated. Your templates will be updated. They will update the forms. They will not add new forms. So for example, my buyer representation agreement. When I went in there, the BRE form, I've updated this template, but the BRE wasn't in there anymore. It went away. Why? Because they eliminated it. Okay, they came up with a new form called the BRBC. So this is the principle I'm trying to tell you, is that they will update your forms, but they will not add new ones. Okay, and so that's up to you. You could do it one of two ways. One of them is you can go to that, remember over here on the right hand side, and you just pull up all of you click on the forms update, and then you pull up the ones that you think you're going to need to use, right? Or you could just reach out to me, and I'm happy to send you my template, because it's going to change. I guarantee you that. And I do this, I know already what's coming, and so I'm usually going to make the changes before they happen, like a day or two before, and then I confirm everything the day of. Okay, is everybody good with that? I want to make sure that you understand, because that is hopefully going to be really, really helpful for us. Okay, so that's the other big principle. So I had my library got updated, my templates got updated. Again, existing forms will be updated in my template, but they will not add new forms. Okay, they will not add the new forms to the template. So for example, we had the PET form, the PET, the PET addendum form. Well, we changed the name of it. Now it's the Animal Terms and Conditions Addendum. So now it's the ATCA form. And so my PET addendum disappeared, but they did not add the ATCA because it's a new form, and they're not going to add new forms into my template. Now, so those are my two scenarios. My very worst scenario is they will not touch a transaction that you have in progress. So for obvious reasons, you're using. I mean, there are some limited exceptions. Like we updated the FERPTA one year. Nobody knew it was coming. Just like on January 1, they updated the California FERPTA form, and we didn't find out about it just until they did it. So we updated the form at that time, and everything was okay. Nobody dies, as I always say, right? In our business, it's kind of fairly safe. Nobody shoots at me anymore. It's kind of fun. So CAR will not touch a transaction that you have in progress. Now that's good news and it's bad news. So in other words, the good news is that they won't mess up a transaction you've got going on. There won't be a new RPA in there for some, all of a sudden. And remember, anything that you've had signed by a party is always going to be a PDF. Always in your ZipForms program, it'll be a PDF. So they don't have the ability to touch that. They don't want to touch that. But they're not going to touch your RPA either. We're talking about a transaction in progress, right? So the good news is it's usually the stuff that's signed that the DRE is going to consider to be material to the transaction. Is everybody okay with that? Again, for the people that are still logging in, I've got a whole bunch of people still coming. If you have a question, slow me down, do whatever, just type it into the Q&A field. Okay. All right. So where am I here? So in other words, if you're in the habit of copying transactions, copying a transaction, the bane of our existence, as we say, if you're in the habit of copying it, the forms in them may not be current. I had a broker contact me, said, will you review this transaction for me? And this was only within the last couple, well, maybe not quite a year ago. They sent me this thing, and I'm looking in there and I'm going, wow, there's an old DA form in there. That was the old disclosure and consent for representation of more than one buyer and seller. Well, back in October of 2012, we replaced that form with the PRBS. Now it's the possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. Folks, that form is so critically important because you're getting permission up front from the buyer and the seller to be a dual agent. And that's your permission. We disclose it, and then we get consent from the parties to be a dual agent. You must have that, right? Okay, so again, in our office, we have a real hard time with dual agency. We do everything we can to work around it. I've had plenty of lawsuits with dual agency. By the way, the lawsuits I talk about are always somebody else's. I've been very fortunate that way. My job is to keep my broker, Linda's brokerage out of court, but and then I'd like to be able to keep your brokerage out of court as well. So again, dual agency a little problematic. We have attorneys in our office who work as licensees who will not be dual agents. I mean, they take listings, but then a buyer comes to them and says, I want to write an offer on your listing, and they're like, not going to have it. They kick it over to me, and then we work our magic from this end. Okay, so just be aware that if you get into a dual agency situation, you might want to talk to your broker about that and see what the advantages and disadvantages are. Of course, as a broker, we love to get both ends of the deal, but at the same time, when we're in court, we're in a fairly risky, defensible position, assuming that everything went perfectly. Okay, we would be in court. Okay, all right. So if you're copying forms, the forms in them may not be current. So then again, there was my DA form that was, we got rid of that 11 years ago. And so it's like, yeah, you're definitely not using the current form. Okay, all right. So what's the solution? If you have a transaction that you absolutely love, okay, if you absolutely love it, then save it as a template. It's just really that simple. Take one that you really, really love. Now, again, check with your broker, make sure you did everything okay in it, right? But then save it as a template, give it a name, call it a buyer offer, seller listing, whatever template, and then use that. The sad truth of it is, I had a good friend of mine who was a broker up in Solana Beach, and she called me on the phone, and she says, Kevin, I can't believe it. I'm being sued. And I go, oh, Louise, I'm so sorry to hear that. I says, what happened? And she says, I've been doing it this way for 30 years. I says, you've been doing it wrong for 30 years. I'm like, and so she'd been doing it wrong for 30 years, and she ended up buying out of the lawsuit. But make sure you're doing it right for 30 years if you follow what I'm saying. It's the old story of, if you don't do it right the first time, when are you ever going to have time to do it right again, right? I mean, I think that's John Wooden said that. So be aware, it's a situation. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do all of this. So speaking of templates, we've got three big templates. We've got the seller listing template. We've got the buyer offer template, and I didn't put in the lease template or the property management template, but if you want a copy of ours, just ask, send me an email. I will send you copies of them. Now, they're fairly large packages. And oh, by the way, Linda, I found out that I talked to the IT guy this morning, and he said that the reason that the packages didn't go through wasn't because they were so large. Usually, if you have like a Gmail account, they'll take 20 megs of stuff. But it was because of of a setting at the server's end on the server, your email server. So they ended up going in, believe it or not, and fixing that. So it's good. So usually you're going to get them. If you ask me a question online and I don't respond to you folks, will you please reach out to me again? Because I want to help you. I really do. And then I have people who say, well, I reached out to you, you didn't answer me right away, so I figured, I didn't want to bother you. It bothers me that you don't ask me and remind me that you're looking for help. Okay. So that does bother me. If you call me and I don't respond to you right away, obviously I'm doing a webinar right now. I mean, I can't take the call, but I'll try to get back to you right after the webinar is over, right? But if I don't call you back within 12 hours, call me again. It's okay. It's all right. Okay. All right. And again, remember what I said a minute ago about the podcasts? I'm so very excited about those, because those I can move around and tailor them to, what people's questions are going to be. So send me an email. Okay, real simple. Save my email. So speaking of templates, and so I'm going to show you how to create a template, but I also want to show you how to import mine if you would rather do that. And so I'm going to send you an email. You got to ask for it. Send me an email. Say, would you please send me your template, whichever one, seller listing, buyer offer, whatever. Give me what it's called that you want me to send you, and then save it someplace on your computer, and then without opening it, open your ZipForms product. So go into ZipForms, okay? And so let me show you that really quick. I got to make sure I'm watching your screen over here. So I'm going to go, here's my templates. So you're going to go into your templates on ZipForms, and you're going to go over here and click the import button, and then you'll see it says browse for file. You're going to click browse for file, and now you're going to pull up where the template is. And so in our case, I've saved these in the CAR file because they're CAR forms. So as you can see, here's the lease template, the seller listing template, the buyer offer template, the property management template, and then some of them go back even further. But anyway, I have all the templates already saved, so I'm more than happy to send these to you. Does that? Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, good. So hopefully that makes sense and helps everybody out. Okay. So then click on the OK button, but then you got to be patient. You got to sit and you got to wait for a few minutes because you know what? It takes a little bit of time for it to load. So let me pull up. I wanted to show you. I actually have the instructions that I created. Let me see. Where is it here? Don't you love it when I do this on the fly? Here we go. So here's the instruction I am more than happy to send you. You see that? You can't see the open version, so let me pull up the open version. There it is. So here's the open version of the template, and so I give you instructions. And here's obviously a different template than what I was using a second ago. But from ZipForms, click on Template, click on Import, Browse for Files. So I will send this to you as well. Okay, remember what I always say, folks. I say, if you look good, you make me look good. So I really want you to look good. Okay, I really do. It's important. Okay, it's important to you. It's important to me. It's important to our industry that we are professional about what we do. Is everybody okay with that? I'm going to take us back to the presentation here. Where was I? Okay, so open your ZipForm product, click on import. It will say browse for file, go to where you saved the file, double click the file. Remember, don't open the file, just double click it, and then click on OK, and then it'll save it as a template. And again, it's going, whoops, we're not done. We're nowhere near done. So it will save it. You have to be patient. You have to give it, it's going to take probably 3, 4, 5 minutes for it to do it. It's a lot for it to process. Okay. All right. So now you know how you can get the template, that I'm not charging for it. As I think I'm probably going to start charging for these in December. I have brokerage companies that call me and I charge them for it. So I definitely charge them for it. But again, I want to help you, that kind of thing. But at some point I've got to keep Linda in the manner to which she's become accustomed. My Linda broker, the broker, right? Okay, so let's talk about that. So I want to create a template. So let's start this from scratch. I'm going to go over here where it says new. Okay, everybody follow me? It says new. I'm going to click on new. It pops up 4 possibilities. I could do a new listing. I could do a new purchase or offer, and again, these are templates. I could create a new lease template. I could create a new lease listing template. Okay, so let's start off. I want to start off with new purchase or offer. Unless anybody wants something different, let me know. Okay, so new purchase or offer. I'm going to click on that. It's going to ask me for a name. I'm going to go ahead and name it. Obviously, I'm just making up characters. I'm going to delete this one later. And then I have to check on residential or one of the others if you're creating a commercial. See, when CAR created all these categories, they created them with a thought in mind. Again, not thinking too far ahead, the thought in mind that they would create templates for each of them and then sell those to the members. But unfortunately, that as you all know, it's like when I go on a listing appointment, the only thing I'm for sure going to know in the listing appointment is hi, my name is, right, and the rest of it is just kind of trial and error, right? I just kind of make it up as I go along. I think I'm fairly systematized about what I do, but I never know what the seller's going to hit me with, right? So, or even in my buyer consultation, and I'm working with a broker right now, we are creating a buyer consultation questionnaire. And so you should be, just like you would sit down with a seller at a listing appointment, you should be sitting down with a buyer at the buyer consultation appointment before you ever show them property. One of the first safety rules is never meet the client for the first time at the house, right? The buyer, at the house. And so, you want to have that buyer consultation. I'm actually also talking to CAR about that very same thing. So, okay, so that being said, I'm going to click on residential in this case because really none of the rest of it doesn't do anything yet. And then over here under scope, you see I've got personal, global, and office are not available to me. If you're using the broker version, they will be available to you. We used to use the broker version. We stopped doing it. We found that only a handful of agents were doing enough transactions to warrant it. So we ended up just writing. Our brokerage changed its business model. We write their offers, write their listings. Their names are on them. We give them credit for it. They never have to worry about anything. They've got me 24/7, that kind of thing. So down here in the bottom, auto apply. I have to make a decision. Am I going to be that proud of my template? So right now, this one says by default, do not automatically apply this template to new transactions. Okay. However, I'm going to tell you that if you're proud of your work, then click the box that says automatically apply this template to purchase residential new transactions. Okay. All right. Now, why? Because you're going to do such a great job on this. You don't want to have to do it all over again when you create a transaction. We're going to use the template we're creating to create the new transaction. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you how to do that too. So I would not check the third feature. The third feature says automatically apply this template to all new transactions. So that would be seller side and buyer side. And I'm going to tell you, I'd bifurcate the two. I'd put the buyer on one side, seller on another side. Let's create different templates for each one of them. Okay. All right. So we're going to start off with the buyer offer template because remember we checked buyer offer. And then down here in the bottom, here's all my templates show up in here. We're not going to do that. We're going to create our own right now. Okay. So we're going to create a template. So I'm going to click my save button and then it's going to go to work. And it says, well, you don't have any, you're creating a brand new template. So what do you want in your template? Well, yeah, you want a variety of things. You want folders, of course, right? Folders over on the left-hand side, and then you want forms in there for sure. So I think what I'd like to do here is I think I'd like to go back and pull up my buyer offer template. Otherwise, we can go up here to forms and we can say, okay, I want my purchase agreement, which strangely enough is not at the top. Oh, this is forms update, so it wouldn't show up. Okay, so there's purchase agreement. By the way, for those of you working on a Mac, you probably can't see the period in front of these three items: California residential purchase agreement, cover sheet, residential listing agreement. You probably don't even see them at the top. What we do, again, when we create our forms, when we create our programs at the state and the national level, we create them to PC based first. So if you're using a Mac, you're probably not going to see that. But PC first, and then believe it or not, Chrome. It used to be, we used to do everything to Internet Explorer, of course, replaced by Microsoft Edge, those kinds of things. But so for now, I'm sorry, they fix things as they go along, but that's where they are at the moment. So in our case, it's a purchase agreement. So I know I want the cover sheet, right? The cover sheet's really important. And there it did. It loaded the cover sheet for me. Okay, why is the cover sheet important? Cover sheet, because there's things that we can do in the cover sheet. And unfortunately, the Forms Editor Classic is going away, which was my favorite. But we're going to go ahead and use it here. So I'm going to full screen it. So, we're creating a template. So we don't have the buyer's information. And by the way, I would not check this box, these boxes on the right. Some people check them. I wouldn't. My argument with the lawyers was that the client is signing because you're telling them to sign, and there was for the longest time a checkbox next to liquidated damages and arbitration. I got them to take that out because that was creating confusion. Because liquidated damages and arbitration are optional coverages, and so that's why we created the optional initial tag. Okay, so that, and then we go down here. I don't know who the buyer is. I don't know who the seller is, clearly, right? And then property information, I don't know what that is. I've got a pretty good idea that I'm probably writing an offer in California, so I'm going to click on California. I've talked to them about that. I said, why don't you just make that, California, because I'm not going to use this to write an offer in Utah, right? I'm not going to do that. But remember, try not to fill in all of the information. And clearly up here, I would fill in the name of your client, whether it's the buyer or the seller, and I would put in their email address. I wouldn't put in anything else. And I tell you this from personal experience. We've had, gosh, can you all hear me? Oh dear. Know if you can hear me. Okay, so we've had situations where agent filled out all the information on the buyer, which ended up populating on the last page of the purchase agreement. Offer didn't come together, and then days later, the seller's agent reaches out to the buyer based on the information on the contract, and so that would be a serious code of ethics violation. It would be a procuring cause issue, create all kinds of problems. But we've had it happen. So I only fill out the buyer's contact name and I fill out their email address. The rest of this, you're treating it as a PIM, a personal information manager. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't. Most of it doesn't populate anywhere. Same rule applies down here. Now I usually put in, and I'm going to show you my template in a minute. I'm just using this for illustrative purposes, but escrow's information, I put all that in there. Some people, when I create their templates for them, I have to go back in and change it to their preferred escrow company. So when I send you my template, if you send me an email and I send you my template, your job is going to be to go in and replace all of the information that I have in there with your information. And if you have questions about whether you should or shouldn't, give me a call, send me an email. I'll be happy to help you with it. Okay, so escrow, it's a buyer offer. So since I'm writing the buyer offer, all of my information would populate in here. And then when I write my offer on a property, I'm going to use the MLS Connect feature, and that will load hopefully the seller's broker's information. Lender information does not populate anywhere, so I don't know why you spend time on that. Appraisal, same thing. Title, in one place, the title information shows up. So the people that go crazy filling these things all out, I feel for you. It's a little OCD if you think, you know what I'm talking about. Pest control information does not go anywhere. Why are you filling it out? Again, I'm trying not to waste your time. So disclosure information also doesn't go anywhere, but you click on the provider, and as you can see, that all of these people, by the way, when you do those drop downs, all of these people are paying $100,000 a year to have their name appear in the drop down. They're paying CAR $100,000 a year. Okay, so and they will on another form, they will tell you that it's not an endorsement. It's just they paid us $100,000. Okay, so I don't know, if somebody paid me $100,000, I'd probably put them in there too, right? Assuming that they weren't criminal or whatever. But you can see Property ID Max was the last holdout. That's Property ID is one we use, and they were the last holdout. They finally said, okay, we're probably losing business on this, so they put their name in there. But then the others, some of them are good. I don't know what to tell you. I just know that Property ID for us has been the most inclusive of all the things we need in a file. So that's disclosure information. Home warranty protection, they're not going to go anywhere. Again, you're going to fill it into the purchase agreement, and it dies there. HOA information will appear when you do the MLS Connect, and it pulls in the MLS, the information from the multiple listing service. And then we have a new thing on transaction coordinator information. Okay, I get it. A lot of people are using TCs. And by the way, that's probably a good idea. Just make sure, again, that the TC that you're using has E&O insurance. But if they're an employee of the company that you work for, they could be covered by the employer's insurance, again, under the employer's insurance, period. Okay, all right, so we've done all that. That was my cover sheet. I'm going to go back here really quick. I'm going to click on that. Look over here when it says parties. I'm going to click on parties, all right? And then you'll notice that the button shows up, all buyer side, seller side service providers. So what I would recommend that you do, again, this is a template, obviously, and it's the buyer offer template. So when you click on buy side, you should go down here, click on selling agent and broker, and fill in your information, right? Because you are the buyer's offer agent, okay? And then the other thing, under service providers, you would put in whoever you like. So you have an escrow officer that you like. You have and again, this is for purposes of being able to include them in the transaction. All right. Again, I'm going to show you the full-born completed version in a few minutes here. But in the meantime, you've got an escrow officer, you got a buyer's lending company, you've got disclosure company, home warranty company, title company, people that you might like. This is an opportunity for you to fill in, the title company's information, things like that. And why? Because you're going to invite them into the transaction, and then you'll be able to share documents with them. And I'm going to show you how to share documents in a minute, okay? Sharing is one of the coolest things you're going to do. Again, we're talking about DRE compliant templates, and we're in the buyer offer template, but everything I'm saying to you applies to the seller listing as well, okay? All right, so I'm going to, from here, I've done my documents, I've done my cover sheet, I've done my parties, the basics of the parties. We also have a checklist, which I think is, I actually like the checklist. It's pretty simple. When you write your offer, you're putting in the top part of the offer the date prepared, and the program's going to know the date prepared is the start date of everything typically. And then it will populate the calendar for you. So I'm going to click on calendar over here on the right. Good, you all can see that. And so if I were to write the offer today, it would show 28, and then it would load in the default time period. So 17 days from here would be what? October 45th, right? Which would be roughly the 15th of the month. it will calculate the dates for you. They will show up in your calendar as to what those dates are. And then along with that, now you can create rules that say, you know, when to notify you of things, you know, when you're doing that. Is everybody good with that so far? Okay, so I'm gonna open up our template in a second, but I want to show you up here in the upper right hand corner. You see where it has the silhouette. You know, I always think of that as a target in law enforcement, but I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on profile and settings. Good. Okay. Again, we're covering the surface. We're at 30,000 feet right now. We're fixing all the stuff that are going to be problematic for us later. And so when I go in here, I see about me, sign in security, offices, forms, products, settings, notification settings, and assistant transaction coordinator. Okay, so under my name, you know, under me, about me, okay, here it's all about me, right? So, you know, I could put an avatar in there. I would just click on it. I have yet to figure out how to do it. It doesn't, you know, it only seems to say remove. Okay, here we go. Now I can do change. Nope, won't even let me do that. Look at that. Anyway, bag it. The only one's going to see this is you anyway. So, okay. So it has my first name. I always use my first name and my middle initial. And then my last name, I always put in my JD. It says that it affects the login. It really doesn't. The email address in there is my personal email address. I don't check it very frequently, so don't send emails there. But it's also not the login email address. There's the telephone number. That's my company telephone number. I don't give people my cell phone number because, you know, the y'all texting and stuff like that. It's just a little bit too much for me. I have so many different communication mechanisms. Texting is limited usually to family and friends. Okay, so some of you do have my number. You are friends. That's usually an indicator of that. Okay, all right. And then down here, I got my DRE license number. All right, that's, you know, I got my license before dirt was invented, so it's a long time ago. And then I have the more important part is the email signature line, and so I'm going to open that, and I'm going to check the box that says include in all outbound notifications. Okay. Now, probably the easiest way to do this is to copy it from a Word document and paste it in here, or open up one of your emails from your email account, copy, paste it in here. Again, remember what the DRE says, this is first contact information. So they want this to be DRE compliant, which includes what? Well, my name as it appears on my license. I'm a broker associate for the company with my name on it. The company belongs to Linda. I gave it to her, 13 years ago, thinking I was going to ride off into the sunset. And then, of course, then we get really busy, right? So that didn't happen. So, but anyway, Linda owns the company. She's the boss. She's the broker. Linda got her broker's license 2 years after she got the real estate sales license, and I'm very proud of her for that. She went on and got broker's licenses in 3 states. So, you know, states where we do business. So Linda's really quite exceptional. So she's on the call, but she never listens to me. She says the same thing about me. I never listen to her. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's fine, right? Okay, so I put a couple little trinkets about myself. I put so there's my personal broker number, and then I also have the corporate broker number. By the way, if you can't get things to work in the field, click on a button. So I clicked on the B, the bold, and great, still doesn't work. I don't know what's going on with the program today, but it's just one of those things. So try it again. Nope, still not going to work. Okay, not going to worry about it. Anyway, so put in your. I put in the corporate broker number. I would do that if I were you. And again, some of you on this call, I know you well, and I know you do this already. So make sure that that's all current. I put in my affiliation with the company. It's in the form of our website, and then I put in the telephone number, how to get a hold of me. When the voice comes on, you hit the number 4 right away, and it rings wherever I'm sitting. So that way you always find me. I don't have to give you 35 different telephone numbers. I don't have to rely on cell phone coverage either. So San Diego County office, we have offices all over the state. They're all essentially virtual, and then my little saying about, don't be counting on me for legal, medical, or tax advice. People ask me, where did the medical come from? And I say, well, because I told somebody one day to take a baby aspirin, and they said, well, that's medical advice. And I went, oh, God help us. So question, I clicked the last icon and it allowed me to type. Shonda, you're probably right. It just whoops, I don't want to do that. Yeah, this one over here, that's odd. No, not working for me. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. So anyway, bottom line is create your signature line. And then the one thing you must remember before you leave this part of the program is you have to hit the save button. Okay, if you don't hit the save button, you're gonna lose everything you did. Everybody okay with that? So now I just saved my JD and and all those kinds of things. Okay. All right. And if you hit close, it takes you back to your transaction. So we don't want to do that either. So just hit save and then go up here, sign in and security. And none of this information is accurate, but obviously I still get in just fine. Two-factor authentication if you're worried. It's interesting. I know of people that share usernames and passwords and stuff like that. Just remember, whoever owns the account or whoever is the namee on the account, they are the ones that have the username and password. If that person passes away, the one that owns the account passes away, then CAR shuts the account down. And so that means that the people that were kind of living off of it aren't going to be able to do that anymore. And we've had this happen on more than one occasion where, husband and wife are sharing the account and, husband passes away, sometimes it's because the wife killed him. I don't know. But then the wife can't get access and she contacts CAR and CAR says, I'm sorry, you're not the holder of the account. And so those kinds of things happen. I turned in a brokerage in Oceanside that had 8 people all using the broker's ZipForms account, and so that was definitely a bad penalty for those people, and they were wanting about it. They told everybody they were doing it. So all right, fine, we'll have somebody talk to you. So again, if I change anything, mobile phone number if you want to put it in there, and that'll usually allow it to text you in the event that something comes up that you need to be aware of, or email. You'll see mine says there's no email, even though it's a required field, but again. Some of the other stuff I'm showing you is going to circumvent all that. Offices over here. So this is the place where you update your office information. So people say to me all the time, down there in the footer of the form, it's got the, my previous office. This is where you would change that. Okay. So you would put this in. Company's not going to do it for you. SDAR can't do it for you. You got to do it yourself. So you click on offices and then you go down here. Obviously, I have our name as it appears. We have a corporate DRE license number. By the way, we're also a DRE school. We've been approved as a DRE school, and my RPA class has been approved, as well as my BRBC. The biorepresentation class, a couple of technical things we're fixing, and then those are ready to go as well. So, and those will be for continuing education credit. So again, name of the company, the address of the office, city, state, zip code. I always use zip +4. Gets mailed to me faster, and then there's the phone number again. So that's pretty simple. But now there's the question you've always wondered: how do I change that footer at the bottom of the page? It's right here. Okay. Forms. I'm going to click on forms up here. Now here's the good news. So you'll see a lot of forms in here. Some of which, we've been members of San Francisco's Association of Realtors. There's Northern Virginia. We're members there. Obviously we have NAR forms. So but what do you want to do? So when you go to your library and you click your drop down where it says California, and then it starts listing all the different affiliations that you have, you want the ones that you use the most to appear at the top, right? So what you do is you click on organize over here, and then you can drag and drop. Okay, so let me grab like sample letters. I'm going to grab sample letters. I'm going to move it up in front of the NAR realtor forms and templates. And then anything else I want to move, obviously we're members of a lot of MLSs. We pay a lot of money to MLSs. What else? Anything else in there? I think that's about the majority of it. San Francisco, I like San Francisco. They're a good group. I'm going to move them up too. So their library will show up these libraries will show up in the order in which I presented them. And I'll show you in a minute why that's important. So try to put a bookmark on this one. I'm going to click on done organizing. It saves everything for me. And then again, I got to remember to click save. Now I'm taking you through all this, folks, but hopefully this is the last time you'll ever have to do it. So it's a one-time thing, okay? And then I'm going to go to my products. And so here, there's no organizing this. This is just all the stuff that we get based on our membership. TMS is a transaction management system, which I truly believe ours is better. But they try their best to do, what is it? Often imitated, never duplicated kind of thing. So I'm going to go over here to settings. And under settings, I've got choices, Authentisign, which is the newest version of Digital Ink, what used to be Digital Ink. And so again, Lone Wolf owns the program now, and they have owned Authentisign for across the country for many years. And so they really wanted to get rid of CAR's Digital Ink program. So they've been slowly modifying around it to a point where they're going to get their Authentisign program in place, and that's the program that's going to be the standard of practice. Okay, so we use both. We use Authentisign. We use DocuSign. I teach both. So for our purposes, when we do transactions, because Linda's also involved in this, we have it open for her. It's a little bit easier for her to function with. And so again, if you don't have it, if you're using Authentisign, that's fine. One thing that came up yesterday in a transaction I was working on is that remember that if one of the agents is using Authentisign, and so let's say the seller's agent, the buyer's agent is using DocuSign, sometimes they will wipe out the signatures that are on the form. So just be aware, it doesn't happen frequently, but it happens. So if you ever get that where they send you a purchase offer and then you have your seller sign it, sign the offer, and then the agent sends you a message that said, where's all the buyer signatures? And it's because the program took all the buyer signatures off because you were using different signing platforms. It happens. It's not, don't have a heart attack. It's something you're just going to have to redo it. That's all. Okay. All right. So that being said, email options. No, I don't want to get, if I hover over the question mark, choose if you want to receive a confirmation email. I get so many confirmation emails, I don't need another one. So, but if you want it, go ahead, click on it, say yes, it's okay. Landing screen, I always have it at the transaction list. For me, I don't need to see what the dashboard's got going on. I'm usually ready to get right into it. And then choose the default view of your transaction list. My transactions are transactions that are shared. I have an automatic save feature. This is the lowest amount of time. I go back to the days of Microsoft 2.0, Word 2.0, and to where you had to save it every couple of minutes, otherwise you'd lose everything. So hiding the global navigation bar, I don't need. I've got that hidden. I don't need to see it. But again, do what works for you. Automatically check PDF documents for data to be imported. You will be there all day. So if you check this box, it will be constantly asking you if you want to have program, data imported. I personally don't because I think that it's just redundant. I'm already pretty sure about the data, but again, use it if it works for you. And template preferences, I always believe in importing template data when the template is applied, obviously. And then I always believe in applying the broker and the agent's information. Okay. Mortgage calculator doesn't do anything. I put in 5%, but it doesn't go anywhere. And then you can link to other accounts. Home warranty integration if you're interested in it, title integrations. So again, you hover over it. If you want to turn it on, you click on it, and then it says select your favorites, and then it pulls up their favorites. Okay, so so if there's one in there that you like to use, it seems like, oh, there's the people paying $100,000 to be in there, and so whatever it is, use that. If that's something that you like, you don't get points for it. It just automatically loads it in your offer. Same thing for escrow. Moving services integrations. I used to use that, but what it does is it sends an email to your client, when you get a transaction going, telling them all of the service providers in the area that they're moving to, for example, people that they need to contact. The problem is it doesn't let it go. So if the transaction doesn't finish, it keeps sending it anyway. So, all right, your call. Insurance integration, same kind of thing. Enable credible insurance integration if you're going to use that. Okay. All right. That being said, I didn't change anything, so I'm not going to hit save. Notification settings. You might want to follow what I'm doing. I've got these turned off. The program is already set up to give you plenty of notifications. But there you go. I've got some that are on, most of them are off. What else? Anything in there? I'd like to get back to the program here. So Okay, and then finally, my assistant transaction coordinator, and this one's always interesting. Yeah, and yes, there is a charge. So if you click on invite a new transaction coordinator, because it's appealing that you'd like to be able to invite your TC into it. But look at down here right now. Become an elite agent and get transaction coordinator for $0. But the minute you click on purchase, it says here's how much it is. Right, so it's going to tell you how much it is. It's $128.25 a year. Use it, do whatever. All you're doing is giving someone, your transaction coordinator, somebody that should not have your username and password, access to your file, and it's in a limited concept, a limited scope, which I agree with that. Okay, all right, so do it, don't do it, whatever. I'm going to hit cancel, get me back out. And why do you think? Well, I think it was too expensive. So I always like to tell them that. So they've got all these, because I'm probably the only person that gives people feedback, but I give them all this feedback. That's too expensive. So they probably got like 12 million of those by now. So that's the last of what we're doing. And so I'm going to hit my close button, which is going to take me back to my checklist. Took me out of it. But remember, I was saving as I went along. You don't want to not do that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Anything else I wanted to tell you about? So dashboard, I probably should have shown you this in the beginning. Here's what the dashboard looks like. And then notice over here on the right, it shows the new transaction we just created. This form right here just says, take me to the forms. You're probably going to want to get used to the new form editor. I'd watch the little videos on it and stuff like that. Here's your transactions, obviously. And then under templates, I've got all my templates. And then doc inbox is where people can send things to you, loading them up in, and then you just got to move them around. So here we have one from a transaction we're doing in Santa Ana that I can move to another part of it. But you give people your email address. So up here at the top, see where it says kburk803@docs.ziplogics.com. That is the inbox email address. So if I give that address to anybody, they can send things into the program just by sending it to that email address. Okay. All right. They're not allowed to interrupt your program, do anything like that. Tasks, pretty self-explanatory. I've got a bunch of things in here that I've got set up as tasks, things that are going to happen this week. And again, that comes off the calendar. Contacts is going to be universal contacts. So these are contacts you're probably going to use on more than one occasion. So obviously I have a handful of agents in here. I've got Linda's clearly in there. And then the lender that we use is in there. And then escrow is in there. Again, if you can add them, click on the new button, click on the import button. You can do a lot there. Click on partners if you want CAR to sell you something. I say that with love and affection, by the way, but they have all these things, and some of them are pretty good. I use Constant Contact. I use DocuSign. I didn't buy them off of these programs, but if you click on the link, they get 10 cents or something. So Google Calendar, that kind of thing. And now you're linking accounts, by the way. So LionDesk, I think, is a pretty good program. SDAR provides it to you for free. Just go to your sign-in page on SDAR, and it's a free product. Free is the basic version, right? And then the upsell happens from that point forward. And I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a little bit of a cynic today, but it's just like, I've just had to deal with, the people. I'm angry because they keep sending me emails. Okay. Elite agent, again, we just saw that a minute ago. Do it, don't do it, whatever you want to do. Let's go back in now. I want to go ahead and show you my templates. Let's take a look at my buyer offer template. Whoops, question. Hello, Kim. Hi, Lena. How are you? Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. I can't see you now, right? But thank you for being here. Any other questions about anything in there other than Lena, of course? Or other than questions about Lena. Lena's a faithful follower. We love Lena. Is LionDesk basic functional enough to take care of CRM? I think so. I think it's a good CRM. I do. Again, free service by SDAR. I think it's a good program. I don't use it. I've got somebody asked me the other day, how many contacts do you have? I got about 10,000 contacts in my database. So it's a little much for the program. But at the same time, I reach out to the ones, I happen to be built that way. I'm just systematized. So, but I think LionDesk is a pretty good program. I have a basic version, but I turned off all the announcements. Okay, so let's take a look. So I showed you how to create the template, right? I want to show you how to, oh gosh, I'm getting telephone calls from people that I haven't heard from in ages. Some of them are like not in trouble for something, so it's good. Okay, so we created the template. That's this one right here. I'm going to go back to my transactions, and I want to create a new transaction. I'm going to click on new. Is everybody with me here? New, and then I'm going to say new purchase offer, and I'm going to give it a name. I don't need a street address, but it would be nice. By the way, MLS Connect up here on the right-hand side is going to be a free service on the effective the 1st of January. CAR has bought the version for everybody, for all of us members. Oops, I'm sorry, MLS Connect. No, we already have MLS Connect. Record Connect down here that is not currently, let me make that go away, that is not currently a member benefit is going to be one. I think that's why they put it in there, but grayed out. I'm going to click on residential. Again, remember, now I'm applying a template. All right. So it's going to be an active transaction. I can add an image. I'm going to end up doing that anyway when I do MLS Connect in a minute. Active transaction. What template do I want to use? I'm going to pull up the template that we just created, and that is where did it go? There it is right there. I'm going to click the template that we just created. Remember, we said we didn't tell it to apply it to new transactions. So right here it says I got a couple of possibilities. One of them is the one I just created, or the other one's the buyer offer template. Frankly, let's do the buyer offer template because I wanted to show you that anyway. So I've labeled all my templates. So buyer offer template June of 2023. I'm going to click on that, and now that will be the template that it's going to apply. I'm going to hit my save button. Excuse me. Hit my save button and answer another question. I agree. Anytime they do upsell, I get turned off. No, I agree with you. You know, I get tired of the upsell. It's kind of like, you know, anymore you go to the dentist and all you wanted was a cleaning, and then the next thing you know, you're buying, you know, mouthwash and all kinds of stuff. So, all right, I get it. Welcome to the 90s, right? These poor guys, they're paying their way through. You know, they have to pay back the medical school, right? I mean, to do all that. So anyway, okay. So that being said, I applied my template. It created my transaction. Again, we gave it a funny name just so that it would be, you know, something that we'd remember how to delete it. But it's gonna pop up with this window. It's gonna start off with a summary page. And so this is a summary of everything that's happening in that transaction so far. Parties, again, I showed you how to do that. I've already got, so right now all the parties are in here because obviously we haven't entered any information yet about the client. And then documents, here's the documents page that you're very familiar with. And we're going to talk about each of these in just a second. There's my checklist. I told you, I kind of like the checklist, okay? It doesn't have anything in it yet, but that's only because, you know, we haven't done anything with it yet. So, and then I have my notes page. And so I always tell you, try to do everything inside the program. The Department of Real Estate says keep everything in the same place. That way, you know, if you get audited or, you know, if there's a lawsuit, heaven forbid, you know where everything is, right? I had a broker who got audited by the Department of Real Estate. They send you a letter, by the way, and the letter says you got 2 weeks. Get us all of this stuff. And it's a whole laundry list. It looks like a deposition notification. And it's this great big long laundry list of stuff. And so, of course, give us all the emails. Well, the agent had 5 different email addresses, all with 5 different, you know, she had prodigy.net, Yahoo, Al, Gmail, a couple of Gmail accounts, things like that. And she was just freaking out. And it was quite a nightmare for her. And ultimately I was able to get her out of the situation, but not without a lot of anxiety and a lot of pain. So anyway, keep everything in the same place if you can. You should be loading, for example, your emails. If you're doing a transaction, you're sending emails back and forth to the other agent, you should be loading the emails up into here. And then the other thing was my history, and history is really cool because history, that you're not able to delete this. So history tells the program everything that you've done. So the first thing we did was we created the transaction, and then we applied the template, and then the template was automatically applied. So it tells us everything that is done in the transaction, okay? And so that's going to be really, really important. So let's go back over here. There's a drop-down arrow. I'm going to click on the drop-down. You can see that gives me the particulars of the transaction. It's going to be retained until 2030, which is 7 years from now. They've raised that. It was 5 years. Now they've raised it 7 years. I don't know why. The statute of limitations is usually 3 years on a lawsuit. So our default was 5 years just in case, and I don't know, for some reason they raised it to 7. Over on the right hand side, if I ever want to change the name, so transaction details, I can change the name. I can put, well, that doesn't sound good. I can put that in there, and I can go ahead and change it and click save. And that over here on the left, you can see that it changed the name of the transaction. By the way, whatever you name the transaction appears in the lower left-hand corner of page 1 of all the forms. So I remember when this program first came out, and I was seeing some of the craziest stuff down there. People that didn't like their client would put ugly stuff in there. And it's like, you know what? They can see that, right? And clearly in trial, we can see it. So again, my drop down, I can email things to the transaction. I can copy the transaction. So remember what I said earlier, you created a transaction that you loved so much that you wanted to make a template out of it, then right here, save as template. Okay, so saving as template pops up a window. It says template information. What do you want to call it? And I want to call it my purchase template. So I'm going to save it as a new purchase template. Don't change any of these things. I'm going to hit save. And then in a minute, when we go back to the templates, you'll see it saved it as a template. For me personally, I want to work on this as a transaction. So let me make sure that it didn't take me out of that program. So we're going to go back in here. I'm going to open it back up. And then what else is up here? Delete. Now let's talk about delete. Delete's in red. If you delete something from this program, we can't get it back. So that's a big warning, all right? If you delete something, we can't even get it back. I've had people call me and oh my God, I accidentally deleted a transaction. And it's like, sorry about that. It's gone, right? Hopefully you had backup copies or something like that. Instead of deleting, I would instead change the details. So up here on the top where it says transaction details, I would change it to inactive. You see down here where it says inactive? Okay, and that's how you get things out of your active screen for one thing, but you can save it as inactive and it doesn't delete it. And again, remember, there is no limit to the storage space that you've got, so you're fine. Okay, all right. So I'm going to hit cancel because I don't care about that feature, but at the moment. But don't delete things. Okay. Now this is going to be important to you. So import from archives. So remember, I will send you my templates. You will save them to your desktop or whatever. Then when you come back into the templates and you want to import from archive, that's where it will pull up the information. Where do you want to get it from? It'll say browse for file, and then it'll go in there and it'll take you to that program. And that's when you will import it as a template. So you can do it from within the template, or you can do it from just by creating import, clicking on the import button. Okay, everybody good? All right. Again, remember, please, if you have a question, please stop me. You're not going to use lock. You're not going to use show form versions. Send to other system, not likely unless you're using DocuSign's transaction rooms. You can go to RPR, which is what we call single sign-on. Transaction fax cover. Is anybody here still using? Does anybody know what a fax machine is? I remember when they came in, they were the ruination of our business. Because why? Because people were faxing offers rather than presenting them in person. And I think the skill set that you've been hired to do is to actually sell yourself to people, right? I think you should be presenting your offers in person, okay? But people, all right, I get it. They're embarrassed, or they're intimidated by stuff. It is across the country. It is an MLS rule that if you ask to present your offer in person, they have to let you do it. Okay, so it's a rule. Okay, and there's a ticket associated with it. So you have to let them do it unless you have a writing from the seller that says no. So when I show you my template, I'll show you in the listing part of the template. I've written out the language that I put in the listings. But listen, if you ever called me up and said, "Hey, Kev, I want to present my offer in person," remember I have a right to be present, right? Okay. And you want to present the offer in person, hey, let's do it. I love that. That's just part of the fun of our businesses, getting to know each other. We have networking sessions, all that kind of stuff, but there's nothing like doing a transaction with somebody that you know. Okay. Common Forms Advisor and Forms Tutor. I've been given credit for creating those two programs. They're two really great programs. Forms Advisor tells you what forms to use in a transaction. It asks you a series of questions, like it was built in 1977, so now you know the lead paint disclosure, right? The Forms Tutor tells you how to fill them out. I would tell you, play around with the programs, can't break anything. They're awesome, but use them. Okay. All right. So that being said, so that was my summary. Here's my parties again, just to show you. I've got a handful of parties already because, these are under the all category, but because this is my buyer offer, if I click on buy side, then I'm the only one under buy side, of course, because I've saved myself as the agent. Service providers will show up in there. Let's go ahead and click on documents. And the documents is the fun part. So the documents, I'm going to have several possibilities. One of them is e-sign. And so somebody asked me yesterday, I want to send a document for signature. So I'm going to click on the e-sign button and look what it does. It says, is it a new one? Well, yeah, it is. So I'm going to click on the new button, and then let's say the buyer representation agreement. So I'm going to click on this, and I can send multiple documents, right? But I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on close. They've gotten back to just calling it this goofy thing. I'm probably going to change it to BRBC. And then notice that my signing service is already preloaded for me. If I want to use digital ink, I could do that too. That's free, by the way. And then the return folder is a good feature to have. So it says once the signing parties have finished signing it, where do you want us to put it? And so you click on that button, and since it's the BRBC, we click on BRBC. So now it would bring that document back into the BRBC. Isn't that cool? And then finally, I can add other documents to it by selecting other documents to include. I can go through, and again, these are the things that are in our template. And then what do? Then I click on my next button, and my next button takes me to who are the parties that you want to have sign things. So let's say Carol's going to sign something, and then I'm going to sign something. Then I click on close, and they appear in this order, but I can always change the order as well, right? And then when I click on next, it takes me into the signing platform, and that's a whole nother class. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to back out. I can add other signers, things like that, but I'm going to back out of this for the moment, take us back to where we were, and click on documents again. So that was the signing platform. MLS Connect is really cool. Obviously, we're members of other MLSs, so here we got residential. We're going to put an ID number. I'm going to click on include property photo because I like that photo to be in there. I click on find, and then it pulls up the property with a very strangely shaped pool. This is what, Black Hills somewhere. I think this one's pending, actually. I'm going to click on my save button, and then it's going to say, do you want to replace stuff? Well, of course I do. So I want to replace stuff. Everybody good? So what does that do? Now I go into my offer down here, and I pull up the, well, first of all, let's do this a little bit easier. Let's go to my cover sheet because I like my cover sheet. I'm going to click on that really fast. And so it doesn't know the buyer or the seller yet. And by the way, it won't pull up the seller. You're going to have to, one of the things that we do is we have you pull up the CRS tax data. We have you do RPRs on the property. In our office, they do these things before we write the offer. So, let me, so down here though, look what it did. It pulled in the MLS number. And then it pulled in all the address of everything, when it was listed, the listing price, is residential, built in 79, so it just escapes lead paint. And then the escrow company that we use, and there's all my contact information. Why? Because I created a template with all my contact information, right? Including my ZIP+4. So there's the broker's number, there's my broker number, and then it's got my personal address in there, which I don't use in real estate transactions. So we're going to go back up and put my company address in there. As I said earlier, don't send an email to my personal address. I don't check it very frequently. Question, Donna, being a member of SDR, do we get free DocuSign? No, no, we don't actually. They're two different entities. That would be news to me. Let me put it that way. I've never heard of SDR paying for DocuSign. Never heard of it. Is it possible? It could be, but I'm not aware of it. we pay for the broker's version because we do a lot of transactions. In fact, DocuSign complained to us. They said, we sold you the broker version, but we didn't think you were going to be doing 1,200 transactions a year. And so, they didn't have a limit on how many transactions you could do. So, Donna, I don't know the answer to that question. Donna's question is a good one. If you're a member of SDR, do you get free DocuSign? I'm not aware of it, unless it's a new benefit that was added, like in the last day or so. Sellers brokers information. When I click on my MLS Connect, it should have pulled that information up, right? So there it is. So it already has it in there. So for some reason, I'm going to bet because I think it is pending. It didn't pull in the seller's broker's information, but always double check the information. I see it frequently enough. It pulls in the broker's license number is not their license number. It's their 6-digit, what we call 6 number at SDAR. And again, nothing else here is filled out because none of this stuff does anything. There's property ID, there's, the home warranty plan that we use. Is everybody good with that? So I checked my cover sheet really quick. And of course, at this point, I'm going to put in the buyer's name and then their email address, as I said earlier. Let's go back to the main page here. Record Connect is what's coming to you. Right now you have to pay for it. I'm only interested in purchasing. No. But that's going to be a CAR member benefit. They announced that at the business meetings last week. And then apply templates. So let's say I didn't like the template I applied. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to apply another template. So I'm going to grab, how about the seller listing template? Now do this judiciously, folks. If you make a mistake, I'd almost tell you at this point to start over. But I'm going to apply my June 2023 seller listing template. And then that's going to add a whole bunch of other stuff to the equation. So now there's going to be a lot of forms in there, okay? All right, so it takes a minute. It's going to spin for a little while. And if you ever have to find a form, the easiest way is to go up here where it says search and, like, for example, type in CR, and it comes up with everything that has CR in it, okay? So including contingency removal for the seller. Remember, we bifurcated the contingency removal form for many, many decades has been one form. Now we've made it 2. Contingency removal for the seller, contingency removal for the buyer, 2 separate forms. Okay, all right. So get rid of that, taking me back to my main screen. So we did the apply template. We did, remember, you can on the one that you created, right? Add document. I decided I want to add a document. I've got a whole bunch. I should do it. So I got a whole bunch of different ways to add a document. So when I click on add a document, it gives me browse for the document, which is the one I use almost all the time. Create a placeholder, add a form. Add a form you could have done over here on the right. Dropbox, Google Drive, Box, OneDrive, whatever you want to do. I normally do browse for document, and then I just pull in a document, right? So I'm going to open that one up, and then it says, do you want to load it? Sure. And then I let it go ahead and load it, whatever I'm going to do. So when do I do that? I do that when I'm pulling in my pre-approval letters, right? I've saved the pre-approval letter on the hard drive, on my desktop, whatever. And then now I'm going to import it into the transaction because I want to send that over with the offer, right? That's where I'm going to do it. I'm going to click on pre-approval. Again, all these templates or all these fields on the side, they're called folders on the side, are in my template. Now I've merged 2 templates, right? But so there's more stuff in there. But if I let's go back to my list just really quick, and I've got that crazy little transaction right there. If I load that up, that's the one I already messed up. So okay, so anyway, in there I've got my buyer representation mini template, so to speak. Under listing packet, I'd have the sellers. This is all going to the seller. Okay, pre-approval letters we talked about. Under property info, I'm going to put in. We have a listing input sheet that we put in there for people taking a listing. But this is where you would put the property information. So your MLS, always print a copy of the MLS, save it as a PDF. Right, and then always put it in here because you are entitled to the commissions at or about the time that you wrote the offer, and you want to be able to prove that the commissions were X, Y, whatever. And I've had that ugly situation happen where commissions got changed in the course of the transaction, and of course the agents weren't aware of it. So so you're under property info, you should have the MLS, the printout of the MLS, the current one. If you sell the property, it goes pending. Put the pending version in here as well. Don't delete the old one. And then you would put in your RPR would go in here, your CRS tax would go in here, because you need to be able to say, hey, I went right off the tax database when I put in the name of the seller. Okay. Photos, again, I like saving everything in one place. So if I've taken a listing, I'm going to save all the photos in here. Disclosures, again, this is on the seller side. So you see my consumer's guide to disclosure requirements for sellers. Here's my TDS, my SPQ, my SPQA, and again, they don't load in this order. So if I wanted to change the order, I would go up here where it says organize. I would click on the organize button, and now I can move things around. Okay, my SFLS, my parking storage, my seller information, listing information checklist. I'm going to move that up a little bit. I actually like that form. I think that probably should be the first form you have, the first disclosure you have the seller fill out. Then when I'm done organizing, I click on my done organizing button. And looking at the form, if I pull it up here really quick, you can see here's what it does. It tells me a lot about the property. This was just revised. I think they got the revision date. SDR puts them at the bottom. Yeah, there you go, January of 23. So they just revised this. How do you hold title to the property? Loans and obligations, especially is there a notice of delinquency filed or a notice of default? Notice of delinquency is usually a notice that one lender provides another that that lender has been defaulted on, or that they've missed a payment to that lender. So that's usually something that's done as a courtesy to let the other lenders know so that they can get their action together, right? But NOD is very important. Remember Civil Code 1695. Remember that that's the Home Equity Sales Act. Says that if it's a residential 1 to 4, which is what we're talking about here, the seller is living in the property, the buyer is not going to live in the property, and there's a notice of default filed, then those are the 4 prongs necessary that the buyer must give the seller notice of their statutory right to rescind the contract within 5 days. And so we have a form for that, and that's the NODPA. All right. So again, don't mess that up. So if you're working on the buyer side and you're working with someone who's not going to live in the property, then you need to have your heads up about that. Is the seller living in it? Is there an NOD? And if those are present, then you make sure you use the right form. Okay. It's a $25,000 criminal penalty, which means you don't have any E&O coverage for it, because your errors and omissions doesn't cover you for breaking the law. And you have a year in jail. Actually, I'm sorry, prison. Jail is a temporary holding facility. Prison is the long term, 3 squares a day, that kind of thing. So you get a year in jail, and you have unspecified civil damages, which means they can sue you for whatever. Again, not a good thing to get nailed on. My preference for you is that we just do it the right way the first time. Okay, so those are pretty good little things to remember. There's actually, if you go to and I've been given credit for writing this, and I'm going to tell you I didn't write it. I mean, I probably contributed to it, but if I go to CAR's website, and can you see that? Yes, you can. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to type in home equity sales, and I'm going to click go. And it's going to pop up my NOD and investor transactions, home equity sales contracts. And this was revised in 2022. This is an ugly law, folks. It is still on the books. I'm telling you, be aware of it, know what it's about. Unfortunately, I'm involved in a lot of divorces, none of which are my fault, that I'm aware of anyway. And the divorce attorneys always call me up and say, what was that law again? It's like 1695. And they go, really? And then the next thing you know, here it is, 1695. Next thing you know, their contest between the husband and wife goes away because one of them's going to go to prison. And so that's why these rarely ever make it to court. But here's my 4 prongs I told you about earlier. So just be aware of that, please. I mean, I don't want anything to happen to you. And so that's the point. That's kind of what I was saying was, this is why this is such an important question to ask the seller at the time that you take the listing. Okay, so lots of other good stuff in there. I would take the time. I really think that the time you spend with the seller at the listing appointment is worth all the time in your transaction. Notice that only the seller signs it, which means it's personal to you, which means if you're representing the seller, you're the only one who has a copy of it other than the seller. So you don't give this copy to the buyer or the buyer's agent. You would never do that. So good. Okay, so we covered that. Let me see. Let me go back a click here. Take us out of this. So those are my disclosures. I've got a whole list of disclosures. Obviously, if I'm representing the buyer, here's all the stuff that I send along with a buyer offer, including, if the buyer says, I want to remove all my contingencies at the time of the offer. We're just now seeing those lawsuits coming in, and they're coming in, a lot of them. The transactions that occurred where the buyer was talked into writing a non-contingent offer, and now so just because the buyer writes a non-contingent offer doesn't mean that you want to interfere with the buyer's right to investigate the property. They have a right by law to investigate the property. In fact, they have a duty to investigate the property. And so you would never want to interfere with that, right? If they want to investigate it, let them investigate it. I did a transaction up with an agent up in Laguna, and my buyer was a VA buyer, and VA can't remove all their contingencies. But my buyer said, I don't care. I want the house. We got the house put under contract, and the seller's agent had said that the seller wanted non-contingent offers. We found out later on the seller had no idea that they said that, but all right, I get it. The seller did $20,000 worth of work, including pest work, when we were told they weren't going to do anything, and they did everything anyway. So I don't think that they were aware that that's what they had said. So anyway, and I'll lose my train of thought. But anyway, so by the way, the offer closed. Previously, they accepted another offer before ours because ours was a VA. So they accepted the other offer. I just think that's such a huge mistake. VA is almost always going to close, folks. It's always going to close. They have to they have to qualify for the loan. They can't be an investor. They've got to be moving into it. And so they're more likely to close than anybody else. And on the previous offer that they did accept, the buyer never showed up with the money. They never heard from the buyer again. I'm almost suspicious that there wasn't another buyer. But again, I believe in the goodness of others, and until somebody proves me wrong. But at the end of the day, they never showed up, and so the agent called me up and said, "You've done everything you said you were going to do, so we're going to go with your offer." And ultimately, we closed the deal. So okay. So disclosures to send, I have a separate file for that. Obviously, these are disclosures going to the buyer, and then offers would be under the seller side of things. I've already written the counter offer, right? So here's the counter offer. So in the counter offer, because I've already written it, so here it is full screen. Has that address on it. So I've already written it. I already know this is on the buyer side, or I'm sorry, seller side. So I already know what the offer is going to look like, and I'm gonna know what the problems are going to be in it. So I just put this language in here already. So the seller only cares about purchase price. The second thing is what date for close of escrow. The third thing is the initial deposit, earnest money deposit, and then the fourth thing is buyer submits a copy package. I've got all the right language in there, and I had to correct a lender yesterday. Where I said, give us a letter that says that you've verified the source of down payment, source of funds sufficient to cover the down payment closing costs, and they had to go rewrite their letter. So these are just the things that I do. You do whatever you want to do, but again, that's what my template looks like. And so I always use SDAR form, APA, LAD, and SPQA in all of my offers. And so, but the buyer brought in the offer. It probably not going to include that, so I'm going to include it in the counter. Everybody good with that? Okay. All right. So I've already written the counter offers. That's easy, right? So really, I'm just painting by number. By the time I get the transaction going, I've got the same thing for seller, multiple counter offer. I've got a thing in here, buyer interest letters. We had this happen just recently, where one of our buyers said, I want to send a letter over to saying, how cute I am or whatever, and how I've got 2 cats in the yard and all that kind of stuff. And we said, nah, we really don't want to do that. And so we just sent them the Q&A from the California Association of Realtors. All of this is in my template. Okay, so whoops, what am I doing? Apparently I'm opening something. Okay, you can still see the screen, but I can't. There it is. Buyer interest letter. Why is it doing that? That's crazy. Once again, there's something wrong with the program. It's probably not you, it's the program. Something wrong with the program. Okay, don't know why it's doing that. It keeps pulling up, asking me to open a document. Let's try the drop down. Open. Nope, it's just one of those weird things, right? He's trying to open up another document. So, okay, anyway, we have the CARs Q&A on buyer interest letters. Question, Lena, quick follow-up on the BRBC. How many days do you recommend to put down as ending day for prospect buyer that you meet first time? We do 90. I think if they haven't bought a house in 90 days, they're probably not real anyway. And again, it could always be that, you know, it's just the market that's causing that to happen. And if that's the case, you can always extend it. I wouldn't put 180 days. You know, remember the sword cuts both ways. You know, you may want to get rid of the buyer. And so 90 days, I think, is plenty of time to get rid of them. But you can always extend. I don't worry about threatening or scaring people away. I learn how to explain the form. And frankly, I've never had anybody refuse me. And I don't know if it's my charm or my wit or whatever, folks, but listen, they're never going to sign it if you don't ask them to sign it. Okay, and the BRBC is the law in many states. The buyer representation agreement is the law in many states. And in a high level discussion I was in a couple of weeks ago at CAR, we are moving legislation forward to make it a law in California. So I'm giving you that heads up, right? I always believe in being 6 months ahead of everybody else. So I would get really good at the buyer representation agreement. I know I'm going to be doing a webinar on it here coming up in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. Or you can go on to the website where I've been loading all my webinars into YouTube up to the website there. But the BRBC, I think, is easy. I really do. It's certainly easier than the old form was. So anyway, thank you, Lena. Thank you for the question. It's a good question. Okay, what else? Anything else I need to tell you about? If they want to remove contingencies, I have the contingencies and contingency removal form. There you can see it, and this was revised in 2016. But it talks about, you know, what happens when you remove your contingencies. You remove them, they go away, and you can't come back to them again. So, you know, for your buyer that's removing them at the time of the offer, very dangerous. But really, frankly, in almost any contingency removal, I would probably have them signing that form. And again, I've started to digress into a forms class, but that's funny. Okay, folks, so just so I'm not laughing out of turn here, I'm reading the screen. I see the questions and answers. You can't see them, but it says, "You are too awesome for any buyer to resist," which I think is pretty funny. So thank you. Yeah, it is their loss. I agree with you. If the buyer that resists me, you're on your own. Right. I just have that position that this is how I work. And so I just tell them that this is how I work. So you don't like it? Have a nice day. And they never leave. I mean, I just can't get rid of most of them. That's a problem. So whatever. Okay. So Linda created this signed by all, and I like what she did here. So signed by all, literally, when people once a document has been signed by everyone, please don't use the word fully executed, because that's not correct. But once the document's been signed by everyone, Linda puts it in there. Not documents that still need one initial or something. No, it's completed, so she doesn't have to keep going looking for it. And I have to give her credit. I think that, well, I always give Linda credit, right? But I think that's a great way to do it. Put everything in there, signed by all. You always know that it's done by going in there. Okay, I don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. You know, it's already been signed by everybody. Okay, so I think that's a great thing. Conversation log. I never see anybody with anything in there ever. That's where your emails need to go. If you are sending emails out of a separate program, if you're not sending things out of this program, then put them all in the conversation log. You're going to have to do that. So, you know, what I suggest for people is that when you are doing your transaction, let me pull up a form. So I'm going to pull a form up. I'm going to grab disclosures to send. So I'm going to open Consumer's Guide to Disclosure Requirements. Let's go ahead and open that one. And I'm showing you this for a purpose. So here's the form itself. You know, and so, you know, I want to send it to my client. They don't need to sign it. There's nothing to sign. So I'm going to click the send button up here. I click send, and I'm going to send it via email. And so what am I going to do? It's going to give me a list of all the people in it. So I'm going to grab, let's grab Kathy. Let's say she's the buyer. And I'm going to say, you know, Consumer's Guide. I already have a bunch of things that, so like I usually put in, please review and let me know if it's okay to send for signatures, right? And then And then down in here, I've got my signature line. Remember my signature line? Here it is, folks. Okay. Remember, I told you how very important this was. There's the signature line. And then on the program itself, I can include form sticky notes if I created them when I had the form open. I can attach a fax cover sheet. Ew, right? So when I click on that, it'll actually pull up a fax cover sheet, which is, I'll show you that in a minute. I can copy myself, which I'm reluctant to do because I know what I sent out. And then I have my, let me move this out of the way. I can cancel, I can hit send. So if I hit send, and here I clicked cancel, but if I hit send, remember a minute ago I showed you that history? It would show up in here in the history, okay? Can't take it out, and I rely on this at trial. If I have a case I'm dealing with, I always ask the agent, let me see the history of the transaction. And so I'm going to be looking for all this stuff, okay? All right. Question, since this program isn't always working properly, and what program is, what program do you use to save copies of your forms? Help me out with that, Anonymous. When you say copies of the forms, so when I'm completed with the transaction, when I know it's over, I will save the entire thing to the cloud. Okay, and so and I'm working with brokerages right now where they just save everything in here, which is fine, because even if it's not working properly, it will at some point be working properly. But I don't like the fact that they delete my file in 7 years now. I want to keep that file. I literally, behind me on my desk, I have the very first real estate transaction I ever did. Okay. Shoot, it's on the other side of the room. Okay, so very first transaction is like 4 pieces of paper. Okay, the very first transaction back in 1970 something. So I don't know why I have it, right? I was throwing things. I had to go through the garage file or make room for the car, and I was throwing. I had the very first transaction, the house I first bought. I saved that. So I have some things that I do keep. Unfortunately, I literally had every transaction hard copy saved, which now we just do everything through ZipForms. But when I started in real estate, remember we didn't even have pens or pencils, so there was no way to do that. But yeah, I think saving it in the program, I think, is a good first shot. But if you're like me and you're concerned about potential litigation, then I would probably save it. So your backup question, yes, all signed complete forms. Yeah, the cloud. You could do Google Drive. And in fact, the DRE has said Google Drive, Dropbox, it's in your purchase agreement, right? It even says it in the purchase agreement that you can use those programs. And so, and again, that was because we got the input from the Department of Real Estate. So when I go to my offer, I pull up my purchase agreement, and then I go, let me do a full screen for you. And then I'm going to go way down here towards the end of the program. And it talks about, where did it go? I know you can't see all the windows I have open on my computer, but where is this now? Acceptance, coming days. We put this in because the Department of Real Estate changed their position. So here you go. This is in paragraph number 25K. So Dropbox or Google Drive. Okay. So here's the position from the Department of Real Estate, at least the last one I talked to them about. And they said, yeah, save it there. You need to have it. You got to have it. I would save it, even if you export it to archive, it's still in your program, in the ZipForms program, right? But if you want to save it beyond the retention period, then or for example, you don't pay your dues and they cut you off, you don't have access to any of your files. Okay, and if you're in the broker version and you leave the company, and the broker version is going to cut you off, so things like that. So yeah, maybe Dropbox, Google Drive, and the DRE's position is that it's okay to use those cloud-based storage. I have a brokerage right now. They want everything to go into Dropbox. And so, okay, all right, we can do that too. I think it's redundant, but all right. But it works. I mean, they plan to be in business for a while. I hope we all do. But the DRE says if your program has been compromised and you continue to use it, that's going to be a violation. So if you know somebody else has your username and password to these things and bad things are happening, but you don't do anything to secure it, then of course could create other problems. I have a lot of people's usernames and passwords. I have them saved in my computer. Mine is like 12 different systems of redundant security that just nobody's ever going to get into mine. But hey, if I knew my program had been compromised, nobody's getting even Linda doesn't have my username and password, right? So but if I know it's compromised and I continue to use it, then I'm gonna have a problem. But Dropbox, Google Drive, sure. Whatever, SkySlope, any of these programs, some of these programs are really, really good. Make sure they're secure programs before you use them. Okay, so good question on that. Heading back over here, this is why I love the questions, right? Because you all come up with great stuff. So again, I've corrupted this one by having both the buyer offer and the seller listing template, which you would do if you were dual agent, right? Question. Thank you. No, thank you for asking the question. I also have in the program down here. So again, conversation log, very important. But remember how I showed you a second ago where I sent the form out from within this program? Well, I don't have to upload an email because it's already in the program. Okay. All right. Then I have our home protection plan information. We send this over to the client if they're, because we think that they should be making the decision on what home warranty. We think they should be making the decision on what natural hazard disclosure company to use. And sometimes, they're forced into using a particular escrow company. And oh, by the way, the escrow company takes off with the money. It's like, okay, or the escrow company's software gets hacked. I don't want to be the one that said use that company. Okay, so we want to watch out for negligent referral. Okay, that's important. So that's why we have our approved vendor list. We have an approved vendor list that says these are people we've been doing business with for decades, and we believe in them. Again, not an endorsement, but at the same time, we've got great experiences, and so we think you should be using those. But okay, open house forms. I have another folder for open house safety and stuff like that, and then miscellaneous. And all these forms, by the way, some of these are really cool for sale by owner prospecting, how to add curb appeal, how to attract more buyers, things like that. Some of these are really, really cool. Where do I find these? Oh, my favorite down here, acting against the broker's advice, seller side. And then we have another one, acting against the broker's advice, buyer side. And where do I find them? I find them up here. I go to all forms. I go to NAR. Right? Remember how we move those things around a little bit? And here's all the forms: 7 reasons to work with a realtor, agent property showing safety checklist, at home with diversity, buyer and seller's guide to multiple counter offers, multiple offer negotiations, stuff like that. Folks, this is great stuff. And it's right here. And nobody tells you about that. And that's probably one of the most irritating things for me is that, again, CAR, NAR, they're creating such great stuff. But then, they create it and then they move on. They forget to tell you that it's there. That's just a pet peeve of mine. I really think that, again, that's why we're here today, right? I'm probably telling you a lot of stuff you didn't know. And again, it's not ego. I want you to be okay. So let's back up. I'm going to get out of my folders really quick. So now I'm in the main one. Now you can see the folders on the left, folders in the middle. And then I have, excuse me, ancillary forms, my receipt for reports that really doesn't fit in any folder. Seller statement on repairs, that's a San Diego form. That's a good one. The request for repairs, verification of property condition, buyer's counteroffers, all those things. So, I have all these things in here that that you probably should, confirmation of conversation. All right, I'm going to document everything I say. If I've got somebody that, and especially if my instincts tell me that it's going to be come back to me later, like the telephone call I got that the buyer had done a pass through to the seller, and transaction goes all the way up to the end, and day before closing, the buyer dies. What do you do about that? And then the family's coming in, they're laying claim to that deposit, and the seller's got it, and you're like, I remember the contract saying don't do pass-throughs, right? So okay, but those are the calls I get. All right, so again, this is what it's going to look like. Anybody have any questions on any of this so far? I didn't want to necessarily get into a forms class, but I think I've covered almost everything. There's one thing. So I showed you how to create a new transaction based on the template. Let's take a transaction you've already done. So let's without getting anybody in trouble, let me grab an inactive transaction. Something that's very old. Let's go way down here to the bottom, something very old. And I'm going to open this transaction. I'm going to actually create this. Was this an offer? Okay, so this is an offer. I'm going to copy it, and I'm just going to add to it, my standard stuff, so I know it's a copy that I can delete. I'm going to hit my save button. So now I've created a new transaction. It's going to spin for a minute. But this is what I was talking about earlier when I said, listen, if you've done a transaction that you just absolutely love the transaction, well, then save it as a template. Okay, so I've taken that transaction, and where is it? It's down here someplace. Is that it? I think that's it. So I'm going to open it. Yeah, there's so if I don't know what I named it, here it is. I got the DFGJ. Essentially I just scribble on the page. So now I've created this new transaction. So okay, I have a transaction. My buyer, we wrote an offer on a property. We did not get the offer accepted, but I don't want to start over again with the buyer later. Okay, so now I can take this transaction. Here's the transaction, and I wrote it. What was it? Via Palamona. But now I'm going to write it on. I want to use everything I did with them in the transaction. Now again, make sure it didn't go past June the 27th, right? Make sure that, because if it does that, then you need to apply the template again. All right, but I'm going to go ahead. It's going to be, instead of via Palamona, I'm going to hit transaction details, and I'm going to do via Ipanema, which happens to be a street in Encinitas. So I'm going to change the name of the transaction, and down here I'm going to save it as active, and I'm going to hit save, and now it's going to, look at that, it changed the name, Armenta via Ipanema offer. So now it's changed the name. So now there's a transaction I just absolutely loved. I didn't want to have to, start it. I don't have to enter the buyer's names in it again and do all that stuff. So now I'm going to save it as the new transaction and just put the different name on it. So when I close this, I will see when I close it that here's the new one via Ipanema. There's the new offer. Okay. If I go down to my where is it here? I went past it. Inactive offers. Where'd it go, Kevin? Okay, I lost it. Anyway, it saved it, so it is still in there. It's just that I don't want to duplicate any of the information. I've got a new property we're writing the offer on. I don't have to redo everything. So now what I do need to make sure is I go up here to parties, okay, and then I fix all of the parties so that, because what am I going to do? I'm going to need to get rid of the seller in this case. So I click on sell side, and here's the seller. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete them. I just find that that's the easiest way, and it prevents overwrite, things that are getting written over it. So get rid of seller number one, get rid of seller number two. Is everybody with me on this? And then I'm going to get rid of the agent. Okay, not get rid of the agent, right? But I'm going to delete the agent's information. Let's put it that way. And then I'm going to go back in because I got the CRS tax data, or I got the RPR. I'm going to fill in the seller's information in here. I'm probably not going to invite them into the transaction, right? Because they're the seller and I'm representing the buyer. And then I'm going to put in the listing agent and broker. Eventually I'll have them change that name to seller's agent or broker, that kind of thing. And you fill in all this. And again, don't go crazy. Don't fill everything in, but put their full name in there. Put their license number. Agent ID refers to their MLS number, but it doesn't do anything. So I don't know why you'd waste your time, but I would put their license number in there. And then down here, I would definitely put the firm's name, and I would definitely put the firm's license number, because you want that on all your forms that require it, right? And then put their email address, and whatever number they gave you to contact them with if you want. Doesn't do anything anywhere. You probably have it on your phone or have it in your email somewhere. And then you can invite them into the transaction. And I do that quite frequently because I do it because I want to share documents. I should have saved it. I'm sorry. Let me pull back up. I'll go to buyer side. So I want to save documents. I want to share documents. And so, here's the buyer's information, or I'm sorry, the agent's information on transaction we did 12,000 years ago. And when I'm in this part of parties, notice up here the share button. I can click on the share button, and now I can actually share things to the different people in the transaction rather than emailing it to them. So again, I'm saving everything here in the transaction. Does that make sense? I like that feature a lot. I've yet to meet an escrow company who doesn't understand it. They all seem to get it right away. Title gets it right away. Everybody gets it right away. Every once in a while, my client always gets it right away. Every once in a while, I'll encounter a real estate agent who's just, not going to be focused on it. So, or not be able to figure it out. So, thank you, Lena. How do you add parties there? Just pull out of contacts. So again, if I'm going to add a party, then I'm going to click on the name or whatever type of person it is, because that's going to populate my forms for me later. And then I copy paste. So, I may do a copy paste. So, first name is Lena, last name is, there. So, let's do something like that. So I'm going to copy paste. But again, I'm only going to put in the names. I'm going to put in their email address. And again, this is a buyer. So I'm going to put their name, their email address, assuming I'm the buyer side of things. I'm probably going to save them into the transaction so that I can share documents. You have to invite them into the transaction or to share documents with them. And then the last part of this part, which is really important, and we learned this, but you would put in the name, but if they are signing, if there's a trust or anything like that, you would put in the name of the trust up here. So the trust would go in the first name, right? So TRUST, you would put in the name of the trust. Obviously, this part would go away. You would put in the name of the trust, and then down here, you put the name of the signing party and the email address. You don't put the email address up here. You put the person down here. And what that does is when you go to sign the contract, it'll have their name put in the appropriate places. Okay, so so you have to manually add each one. Yes, you do. There's no other way to do it. Now, if you fill out the cover sheet, then it should populate in here. It doesn't always do it. Usually I go here first and then do the cover sheet. But signing representative is really important. So let's call it Bob, and then Bob J, and then email address. So we'll do something at something.com. And again, I'm obviously making this up. Oin.com. Does that make sense? I'll hit my save button really quick here. And then when I go to my documents and I go to my purchase offer, here it is, my purchase offer. I click on the document, and then watch what happens down here at the bottom of the offer. Whew, I wish there was a fast forward button, but that's the agent's information. Here's the seller's information. So of course it didn't work. Well, oh, here we go. Sorry, that was the other side. So the buyer's information. So we have the buyer's name, and then we have the name is in a trust, and it was supposed to have, oh, I didn't check the box. Check the box. So it would have checked that information, filled in the information up here, and then the trust name, the long name of the trust would go in here, and then they would be signing it by their real name, but the printed name of the buyer is the trust. So once again, yes, Lena, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to parties. I'm putting in buyer number 2, as we say, and then I've got the name of the trust, whatever it is, the long name, and then I'm going to put in the signing authority's name down here. So it should have actually worked this time. Let me see here. We'll try it out. If not, we're going to stop spending too much time on it. But there's my purchase agreement. And then once again, full screen. You got to hit full screen first, by the way, because if you don't, it'll take you, and you hit it later on, you're halfway down the form, and you hit full screen, it takes you back to the very beginning. So okay, so in here, still didn't work. Trust me, it works when I'm not doing it in a hurry. So questions on any of that? What else did I have to show you? There was something else. Notice here, so when I had it sent out for electronic signature, it's going to come back, it's going to come back, the signed version will create a new folder. Okay. And then we also have CRS tax data grant, the information that Linda put in there. I would have put it up under property info. What happens if I go in there and I see all this stuff here, the interspousal grant deed, whatever, and I want to move it up to property info? I just go down here, I click on move. It says, where do you want to move it? I say property info. It says move, and it disappears. And if I go up here to property info, there it is. Okay. Easy way to do that. All right. Question. do you know any system that could automatically populate all these parties' information on every platform? I have none. I do not know of any. And if there was one, I would know. So great question, Lena. I don't know. I think you're gonna, again, don't try to fill in all of the form, because most of it doesn't go anywhere. So when I go back into my parties again and I do my trust, only fill in the stuff that you need. But if you try to fill all this stuff in, you're wasting your time. I think, if you're the buyer side, then put in the name of the buyer. If it's a trust, put the trust name in the first line. If it's a trust, don't put an email address up here, because you want the email address down here to do it, right? So, but home phone, business phone, cell phone, you're never going to use it. Business fax, you're not. You have your client's information saved someplace else, right? Shonda. So when you share the forms, it can be sent to their email only, or can they be retrieved from ZipForms? Good question. That's a great question. Shonda, I always love it when you're in my webinars, because you're like Lena. You ask great questions. So let's go up here. I'm in share. I'm gonna, did I create any? I haven't created anybody yet, but let's say I want to share something with, I want to grab somebody that's not gonna freak out when they get it from me, but Heather's good. So I'll hit done. And so now it says, what do you want Heather to be able to do? Well, Heather's the escrow officer, so I want her to be able to upload documents, view history. I put a time period on when it's good to. I'm going to give her until November 1st. And then I'm going to click on next. And when I click on next, then it says, what do you want to share with her? And so I go in here and I click on whatever I want to share with her. Obviously, I don't want to share everything with her, right? But I do want to share some things with her. So I'm going to click on those items that I want to share. More likely than not, the offer. So the offer got signed by everybody. There's no offer in there. I think I deleted it, or it was actually in the main part of, there it is right there. I want to share the offer with her. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click on save. And so now it's going to share that offer with her. I haven't sent it to her yet. I'll delete it before that happens. That'll just confuse her. But so that's how you do it. And then you just share the documents. Like, for example, if you're working with the buyer, then you wouldn't share your buyer representation agreement with the seller's agent. And if you're working with a seller, you wouldn't share your listing agreement with the buyer. That's all. Just, be judicious about what you're going to do. And then you can always unshare things. You can always get rid of documents by hitting the minus sign in front of them. So Miriam, Shonda, I answered your question. Are we okay with that? I cannot believe I'm out of time. Miriam, in the conversation log, can you include text exchange with buyers or sellers? So yeah, that is an excellent question. Now, I would not be texting with a client, okay? Only because me and the DRE, we're on the kind of same page on that. Unless you have software that saves your text messages. I had a lawsuit just recently where the agents said, the agent who was being sued said, I don't have any text messages. I got a new cell phone carrier. And so the attorney said, not a problem at all. Don't worry about it. We're going to subpoena your text messages from your previous carrier. And they did. You can't redact those. So I would prefer to give them the text messages relevant to the transaction if I have them, but I don't text with clients. I text with family and friends only. I was in a deposition a year ago, and the attorney asked me in the deposition, on camera, by the way, said, where are your text messages? I wanted to ask you about your text messages. I said, I don't have any. They said, you don't have any? I said, yeah, I don't text with clients. I just don't. I ruined her day, which always makes me feel good. When I ruin the lawyer's day, that was always good for me. But she literally had blocked out 4 hours of time to just grill me about text messages that there weren't any. She just expected that there were, and never bothered to ask me the question. So that's kind of the rule on that. So, but again, if you're going to do it, so let's go back over under documents. If you're going to do it, under your conversation log, again, now I'm going to upload everything I have. So I'm going to upload my emails. I'm going to upload my text messages. I just go in here and I click on add doc, and then I click on browse for document, and it pulls up the documents for me. Okay, and so I'm just going to go to wherever I've saved it, and so wherever that is. Okay, all right, good question. Thank you for that. Yep, that's it. Okay, anybody else have any other questions? I've shown you so much stuff. Let me switch gears really quick here. I'm going to take us back over to our template. So that's pretty much that show. Now, one of the things I mentioned to you in the beginning So SDR is changing their direction on education. They're focusing more on Tom Ferry and stuff like that. So my classes have been cut significantly for the next 3 months, which is okay. My classes were in place that it was really kind of just a template, so that there was always something that appeared to be running. But I'm going to start personally doing podcasts. I've already got microphones coming, cameras coming, all kinds of stuff coming. Again, I'm doing a podcast. The Department of Real Estate has asked me to do one on Sunday of this week. So October 1st, it'll be on how to pick a real estate agent. On the 15th, I'm doing one with the Department of Real Estate on documentation, which is kind of my specialty. So those are kind of where I think we're going to be going, and we're not going to have to do 2 hours. 2 hours is a lot of time, but again, that makes it on me, so that I'm compartmentalizing everything that we're doing. So maybe I have a class on just doing the buyer offer template. Maybe I can do that in 20 minutes. I don't know. But that's where we're heading. And so my podcasts are going to be independent of SDAR. So again, if you're getting my newsletter, you're going to know when it's coming, okay? And you're going to know how to get there. All right. But my understanding is at the end of the year, they want to talk to me about whether I'm going to do anything in 2024. So again, my whole goal in life is to help you. I want you to do well in real estate. And that's just, the way I roll. So again, if you want to maintain contact, so, previous webinars, I've been loading them up onto the YouTube website. Please take a visit, get your QR code reader ready. There it is. Grab your phone, take a picture of it, whatever, or you can go to, whoops, question. And by the way, I'm not saying any of that in a negative way. Okay, I hope you know. SDR is completely firmly entrenched in education. Education, we all agree, it's the most important thing that we can do. It's just a different type of education. So always lots of info. Thank you, Shonda. Lena, another question on BRBC. I have a buyer, multi-generational buying. I don't know what that means. Grandparents are strong influences. Okay, all right, now I do know. But the young couples are the ones who will be on title. I get it. Grandparents are eager to see homes while they're in town in San Diego. Young couple are tied up with work. Oh boy, not able to communicate speedily. I get it. Can grandpa sign the BRBC? Well, technically your BRBC says you or anyone related to you. So technically, yeah, but I would get the people that are going to be on title to sign it, because their name is going to transpose over to the purchase offer. Does that make sense? But if you're going to have them look at property and they're only here on Saturday, then have them sign a BRBC just for Saturday. That's okay. You can do that. Okay, good question though, Lena. Always a good question. So if you type into your browser at Burke Real Estate Consultants Inc., you will get straight to the webinars. That's another way to do it. Yeah, Lena, yeah, do it for 2 days. That's okay. You don't need 90, just do 2. And then I have a bit.ly. I've learned how to do all these things because I realized nobody else was doing them for me. So bit.ly is bit.ly/real-estate-ed. Right? And that'll get you to the same place. My DRE approved classes will be up on the website when we're offering them live in person. I think SDR has said they're going to kick that into next year as well. I am going to be doing a talk for NAREB in Oakland in 2 weeks. I will be in Oakland speaking to the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. I love NAREB. I've been a member there for years. Super great, very appreciative, and I'm so excited about that. And then please remember to like and subscribe. And so Linda, thank you. You subscribed the other day. I was so proud of that. Thank you for that. I don't always see people subscribing, so if you have subscribed, thank you very much for doing that. I just want you to get the updates, and that's all that does. It doesn't send me anything that says, hey, Linda subscribed, but you get the updates. And so when I update things, you'll find out about it. Liking it just makes me feel good, right? So thank you for that as well. And then weekly email updates. So if you're not getting my newsletter and you want to get the newsletter, I'm not trying to sell you anything. You all know me. I'm not here to sell you anything. Send me an email. Say, please put me on your newsletter. I'm happy to do it. If you don't want to be on it, tell me, take me off. Okay, I'll take you off. I'm okay with it. YouTube are my before bedtime study materials. Thank you for that. It kind of worries me if you're watching my videos on YouTube before you go to bed. And the last thing I heard at night was Kevin talking about the buyer representation agreement or whatever. But okay, you make me proud. Thank you for that. That was very kind of you. But I think it's up there with, do you want to sit glued in front of the tube watching this, for hours at a time, or do you want to just get the snippets of things? Or sometimes it runs in the background and your head's picking up stuff that you don't realize you're retaining. And so again, I'm big into subliminal persuasion and stuff like that. And so thank you very much for that comment. But anyway, that's the deal. And I'm running over time, and I apologize to you. I will be back in 2 hours. I'll be doing the top 10 risk avoidance techniques. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I very much appreciate the value of your time. And as I always say, from my hometown of Del Mar, I look forward to seeing you around the track. Take care for now. Bye-bye.